In this video, I'll explain what the inventory turnover ratio is, show you how to calculate it with an example, and talk about some key things to keep in mind when analyzing your results. This is a metric I might look at when deciding if I want to invest in a company. The speed at which a company can sell inventory is a critical measure of the business's performance, and retailers that move inventory out faster tend to outperform. The longer an item is held, sitting on the shelf or in a dusty warehouse, the higher its holding costs will be. And it might also be off-putting to consumers as they have fewer reasons to return to the shop for new items. So the inventory turnover ratio, which I'll sometimes call the ITR to save time, is a good metric to be familiar with. The inventory turnover ratio is an efficiency ratio that shows how effectively inventory is managed by comparing cost of goods sold with average inventory for a period. This measures how many times average inventory is turned or sold during a period. The inventory turnover ratio measures how many times a company sold its total average inventory dollar amount during the year. A company with $5,000 of average inventory and sales of $10,000 effectively sold its inventory 2 times over. The ratio is important because total turnover depends on two main components of performance. The first component is stock purchasing. If larger amounts of inventory are purchased during the year, the company will have to sell greater amounts of inventory to improve its turnover. If the company can't sell these greater amounts of inventory, it will incur storage costs and other holding costs. The second component is sales. Sales have to match inventory purchases, otherwise the inventory will not turn effectively. This measurement also shows you how liquid a company's inventory is, as inventory is usually one of the biggest assets a retailer reports on its balance sheet. And if this inventory can't be sold, it's worthless to the company. This measurement shows how easily a company can turn its inventory into cash. Inventory turnover ratio is an efficiency ratio that measures how well a company can manage its inventory. In general, it's important to achieve a high ratio, as higher turnover rates reduce storage and other holding costs, especially in areas such as grocery stores, as they may hold inventory that can easily go off. It's vital to compare the ratios between companies operating in the same industry and not for companies operating in different industries. The benchmark ratio varies greatly depending on the industry. There is no one hard and fast rule or number for a healthy inventory turnover ratio. Again, a good inventory turnover ratio varies based on the industry and unique business. High inventory turnover can be fine in some cases and harmful in others. That's why you should benchmark inventory turnover against businesses in the same industry and make decisions from there. An annual inventory turnover ratio between 4 to 6, for example, could be considered healthy for e-commerce businesses or retailers, but jewelers who sell small amounts with high profit margins typically see low inventory turnover in the 1 to 2 range. Low turnover could imply that a company's sales are poor. It's carrying too much inventory or experiencing poor inventory management. Unsold inventory can face significant risks from fluctuating market prices and becoming obsolete. Creditors are particularly interested in this ratio because inventory is often put up as collateral for loans. Banks want to know that this inventory will be easy to sell. The way inventory turns vary with industry, so always compare similar companies. Think about something like a supermarket against a luxury car company and the differences in turnover. Okay, let's look at an example. Let's say a fake company called Bundable Wealth Superstore. Over Q3, its busiest period, this retailer posted $94,000 in cost of goods sold and $32,000 in average inventory. To find the inventory turnover ratio, we divide 94,000 by 32,000. The inventory turnover ratio is therefore 2.9. In the second example, we'll use the same company in the same scenario as above, but this time compute the average inventory period, meaning how long it will take to sell the inventory currently on hand. We already know the inventory turnover ratio is 2.9. To calculate how many days it will take to sell the inventory on hand at the current rate, we divide 365 days in the year by 3, which equals 121.67 days. Now, I don't exactly know what we're selling, but an inventory turnover ratio of 2.9 is a bit low. So we might put some extra efforts into advertising our products and try to streamline warehousing for faster delivery to try and start boosting sales and picking up that turnover. But wait, what if the campaign is too successful? Can an inventory turnover ratio get too high? Well, yeah, sort of. You might be thinking it's a good problem to have, and you might be right. But extremely high turnover rate can be a bad thing and hurt your balance sheet and affect business performance. If you're continuously restocking inventory right as you're running out, the inventory levels could get dangerously low. This could mean that the slightest hitch in your supply chain can lead to a shortage, which means you might not be able to meet customer demand. Obviously, that's always a looming risk, and it all depends on what you sell, specifically if you can stockpile for such an event, but it's something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm not going to keep insulting your intelligence by continually talking about how to figure out this ratio. When we're talking about a figure that can easily be calculated on the back of a cocktail napkin with simple division, that's not the most important consideration. Because the inventory turnover ratio doesn't have an exact ideal number to aspire to or achieve because it's case by case, you might be wondering, how can the inventory turnover ratio help me to figure out the situation for my business or for the stock I'm looking at investing in? Let's have a look at 5 different ways you can apply the inventory turnover ratio to make the necessary assumptions. Number 1 is total inventory turnover. So the first number you want to calculate is your total inventory turnover for the business. That is what we've covered already. It's usually best to start with a big picture view of the business for the full financial year and then zoom into particular products or time periods. If you use accounting software like QuickBooks or FreshBooks or Wave to track your business finances, there should be a section already included on your balance sheet for the value of inventory and cost of goods sold. If you've maintained these sections accurately, it should be easy to calculate your total inventory turnover for most recent year. Keep in mind, while calculating your total inventory turnover is useful, it might not show a completely accurate portrayal of what inventory turn looks like for your business within the different product categories or in a given month or season. That's why it's important to dig further into particular sections of your business to consider exactly how inventory moves through your business. Number 2, inventory turnover by product or category. Which products in your store sell out faster than you can get them in stock? What inventory sits on your shelves for months at a time, just taking up space? Should you order more dry puppy food for next month or save space on the shelf for fish food? These are questions you can answer by calculating the inventory turnover for specific categories or items within the grand scheme of all the inventory you sell. By gathering data on the most and least popular products in your store, you can make smart decisions about which items to select for sale or markdowns, as well as make better choices about the products to buy or make in the future. Number 3, inventory turnover by season. If you own a ski and snowboard equipment shop or a Christmas decoration boutique, you're probably pretty familiar with the ups and downs of sales volumes during the highs and low seasons for your business. For these seasonal businesses, relying on the average inventory turnover ratio over the course of a year can be very deceiving, leading you to have too much inventory on hand during the off-season months, but then quickly selling out of stock during your peak sales months. To prevent this, use shorter time spans like a fiscal quarter or even month at a time to calculate the amount of inventory you'll need during the high season and to make sure you don't have too much excess product collecting dust during the low seasons. It helps you to pay particular attention to the months at the beginning and end of the business season to make sure you have the right amount of inventory on hand when you need it. Number 4 is combining a few. Inventory turnover by product and season. Even if your business isn't strictly seasonal, you can combine calculating inventory by product or category with seasonal inventory turnover calculations to figure out how much of a given product you should stock in a given time period. This will help you match your ordering and manufacturing with the seasonal preferences of your customers. As an example of what I mean, if a clothing store gets a new shipment of jumpers in October, that inventory will probably take up space in the shop for quite a long time, depending if you're listening to this from the US or Australia. Consumers won't want to purchase the jumpers until cold weather comes around again. And even then, there's some risk that trends will have changed and the jumpers you ordered in October won't be in fashion by next June. Number 5, using inventory turnover to analyze marketing or product placement. Some of the options above might have seemed obvious, but you can also use the inventory turnover ratio to analyze how your marketing efforts are working and even where to place items in your store. For example, identify a product in your inventory that's had bad turnover for a while. Now change its product placement to the end cap or closer to the register. Or maybe you can move a particular necklace closer to a shirt that it would pair well with. Then wait for a month and compare your inventory turnover for that product month over month. Did the move make a difference? Also consider running an advertisement or buy one get one special for inventory that you have sitting around. By using the same methods above to run the before and after comparison of your inventory turnover ratio, you can determine which advertising channels or special promotions work best for your target audience. We covered a lot today, so I'll quickly talk about the key things to remember about inventory turnover ratio. Inventory turnover ratio is an efficiency ratio that measures how efficiently inventory is managed. The ratio should only be compared for companies operating in the same industry, as the ratio varies greatly depending on the industry. A high ratio is always favorable as it indicates reduced storage and other holding costs. A low ratio implies poor sales, excessive inventory, or inefficient inventory management. Depending on the industry, the ratio can be used to determine a company's liquidity.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, that's okay. Please still subscribe and I'll continue trying to improve to win you over. We're just getting started.